to Brand and Becoming. I'm Keisha Sheikh, LinkedIn Visibility Partner and Personal Branding Consultant. Here we talk about what it takes to build a personal brand, how to overcome imposter syndrome and stop playing small, go to market, and what it really takes to stand out and grow at the top of your field. I'm really excited about today and today's guest, as I'm joined by an incredible person, and I'm also really excited to dig into a little bit more around mindset, and also I suppose just some really good tips for you if you are looking to grow but also are looking to sell more. And I'm joined by Alex Blakeway. Alex is a Chief Revenue Officer and Managing Partner who helped scale the Access Group from 280 million to over 1 billion in under 4 years. He now leads global sales transformation at Forterro, building predictable high-performance sales engines across a global ERP portfolio. He's also the founder of Alex 10x Sales Growth Academy and author of Blueprint Sales Mastery, focused on helping sales professionals break into the top 1%. Alex, welcome.
Hello, welcome. Hello.
So good to have you here, and thank you for joining me. As I said, I'm really looking forward to getting in today. I think you've done so much, and I think there's just so many things that we can, I suppose, help people with that maybe come not so easy to a lot of people, whether they're in sales or whether they've got a business. But I think there's a lot that we can dig into. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. Absolutely happy to share any thoughts and ideas.
So for anyone that is watching that hasn't come across you yet or doesn't know you, can you describe a little bit more about what it is that you do and what you've been doing?
Yeah, the best way, rather than all the corporate stuff, is best to say, I believe companies, teams, and individuals don't operate usually within anywhere near their best potential. And I spent my whole career kind of going, well, what is the secret then for those that are doing well? Because we all see some people doing well, some people struggling, and then a whole load of people in the middle. And then I was very lucky. I managed to get to that top 1%. And then now I help companies, teams, and individuals find out, firstly, what's missing, what they're doing wrong, and then help them scale. And I do that with a blueprint that works, and also an open mind. And sales is continually changing. So it's always looking at what's happening in the future and how can we make sure that we're aligning to more of a buyer journey rather than us just going to, right, we want to sell loads of stuff to you, which kind of people got bored at many years ago. So we have to have a new approach.
Yeah, and I think what you said there is really important for people to realise that sales is always changing, and buyers are always changing, aren't they? And kind of businesses are always changing. So we always have to adapt with the times, and so do salespeople, don't they? It's not just, this has always worked, we need to just keep doing that. It's like, I suppose, listening and kind of adapting with the times.
It's changed. What won't never change is, we're all humans. We do like a human interaction, but technology's changed. And the big thing, Gartner told us about years ago about people can now have, all clients have the tools to go and do the research. They want to engage later in the sales cycle than they used to do, which is fine, because as long as you've got a plan or a way of talking and sharing your ideas and having a great personal brand, then you can make sure you're interacting. And sometimes I find teams and companies forget that. And it's this whole thing about who's doing and selling the modern way and who's kind of still stuck 20 years ago. And that's where you find a lot of the friction.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, it's, if buyers are looking to kind of engage later down the cycle, it's how we stay in front of mind, and how are you differentiating yourself and standing out and being of use in those times. And throughout your career, you've operated at serious scale. When you look at the very best performers that you've had in your teams, what actually separates the top 1% from everyone else?
It's a hard question. So I set myself a target of going, what did I do that worked? What are the people I've looked around and people that worked for me? And I tried to come up with what could you put it into a simple kind of like mathematical equation or do it? And it was very simple. When I then spent the time, I was like, surely there can't be anything, there must be missing things. It can't be that simple. And it was truly, it's what are they going to do that's different? So it's making sure that you go, this is what everyone else is doing. How can I do something being different? Because that makes you stand out. What am I going to do that's extra? As Will Smith famously said, there's lots of great talent, but you're not going to meet anyone that's going to outwork me. So it's what am I going to do that's extra? Because again, you do find those that have done incredibly well tend to do a little bit more. So it's what you're going to do different, what you're going to do extra, Then the third one is the marginal gains. What are the small things you can do? And I say to my team, just picking up your phone, if you asked every client to do just a 20-second video, yeah, you haven't installed your solution, we're not that stage yet, but you've just signed up with me. You just do a 20-second video of why you liked engaging with us and why did you buy from me. And it's these small marginal gains. So underlying that is everything's got to be simple. Because if it's really complex, that is really then hard to scale. So it's what am I going to do different? Well, I'm going to do extra marginal gains by then underlying all simple and scalable. That was the formula that I found consistent across all the top performers. And then sitting next to that was then the mental and the mind side. I'm a big fan of looking at sports and success in sports. And again, I found it's very, very similar when you compare to high performers in sport to high performers in business. And again, the kind of 2 or 3 things that were consistent was one all around kind of control the controllables. When I think, there's so much you can do and worry about, those that are laser focused on just going, what do I control the things that are in my power to control? And I'll worry about those and I'll make sure I fix them. If they're not, then yes, they're in my mind, but I'm not going to beat myself up over the state of the economy or things that are outside my sphere of influence. So control the controllables. The second bit was always have a plan, and you find a visualization and a plan for sports people, have the shot in golf or running the 100 meters. And again, successful sales and business people visualize the success and also have a plan how they're going to get there. And then the final one and the kind of mindset bit was always the realization of time is the most important commodity that we all have. And if we scroll too much and spend too much time on YouTube videos, or we spend our time on the wrong things, we can never ever get that time back. So as to have this really laser focused thing that time's that one commodity, I'm going to use that as best as possible. And there's kind of 2 ways. I was reading at the weekend about, the work culture and how, and especially in tech, and you've got a lot of the startups now doing the 996, they call it. So work from 9 to 9, 6 days a week. And absolutely that is hard work and you can get there. But the kind of smart way of doing it is still saying we can have a better integrated work-life balance. But how do we just be in control and make sure when I am working, I'm working on the right things? So that was the difference. Being able to look at what am I going to do that's extra, being focused on can actually work a bit hard and put in the time, but making sure I'm working on the right things, marginal gains, make it simple, plus the mindset. That was the magic formula, which doesn't sound too difficult. It isn't. But you can tell anybody to do that. It's actually doing it, and doing it is the hard thing, like going to the gym or anything that in your mind, that can't be too easy. I just need to get changed and drive down the road or go to the end of my garden. I still don't do it as much as I should do because it's all mental and how you can have that strength to be successful. That's the big focus that makes the difference.
I love that. And I think that formula is a great one to follow. And like you say, it's just about applying it, isn't it? And actually putting those things into practice, but also having a vision and knowing what you work towards, but also differentiating yourself. And I really like that tip around speaking to your clients, people that maybe you've just signed up, and ask them to do a video and get that feedback from them, because that's really important. And it's an extra touch point, isn't it, as well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was going to ask with the clients and things, I think that's a really great tip of reaching out to them, staying close to them and being of value to them. I think it's really important, and building that human relationship. Is there anything that you've noticed within sales teams that they've done internally to stand out or be different or do something extra that maybe they could do internally as well as externally?
I think in sales, we all love to moan. And there's a huge stuff to moan. The proposition's never right, the product's never where it should be, the markets, there's this part of the economy is not good, or there's a downturn or a challenge. We always love to moan and point out those. I think internally, what I love as a leader is somebody putting their hand up and saying, we've got a problem over here. This is my idea of how we can go and fix it. Reality is great ideas and great solutions don't sit with anybody in the organization. Most of the time, not the people at the top, because they're too far away. The best ideas come from everybody that are closest to the problem. And I find the easiest way to stand out is to go to anyone, even if you're in a big organization, small, medium, but go to somebody of power, go to somebody of responsibility and say, look, I've got an idea. I've written it down. If you're busy now, love to come talk to you about it. But here it is on a single bit of paper or a single slide. Or even better, I've done you a quick 30-second video and I'll send it to you. Have a look. So it's those, I would say, that find a problem and put the hand up to go and do it. Because what happens is usually it's accepted. Well, that might be approach. It might not work, but we could do something with that. Why don't you start and have a go? And then the projects will get formed. And then as soon as you get some traction or that works, of course, the natural thing is to go, well, why don't you tell the rest of the company or the rest of the team about it? So it's that being brave. The bit that I always say is the bit that holds people back is the being brave and putting your hand up. If you're brave and put your hand up and take that risk, that's the bit that usually gives you the springboard to go on and do something else. So have that, what it could seem a difficult conversation going to someone more senior than you, but if you come with a good idea or good problem, that, in my opinion, that's one of the best ways to stand out. It's either that or doing a huge amount and smashing your number. Yeah. And you always get, the top performers, and that is amazing. However, we all know, again, in sales, you could have, if you're new to an organization or you're still fairly junior, you might be working your way up to work on the bigger deals or have the bigger accounts. So there might be some things that are going to slow you down to being able to be, top performer in the company. But again, you could be at a company for 6 months, identify a challenge area and have a good idea. And again, very quickly get that visibility. So absolutely 100% always performance, but good ideas equal high performance in value that it brings to a company.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's some really great advice as well, because like using your initiative and coming up with solutions to problems, not just moaning all the time, that's one way to kind of stand out, but also show the people that maybe are more seeing that you care, that you're passionate, that you're looking at different ways of doing things and that you're there to help and not just moan about things that maybe aren't so good. What's your ideas to making it better? And then maybe if there are difficult times or difficult quarters or months, whatever it may be, because you want to build that relationship and you're showing you're going the extra mile, you're showing you're caring, people want to support you maybe to kind of hit those targets more than if you're just moaning about it, because I suppose people want to work with people who are working hard and trying the best as well. So I think that's a really great tip. Use your initiative and be brave, because what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you talk a lot, and I know within kind of with what you're doing about repeatable systems, where would you say most sales teams get it wrong when they're trying to grow fast?
That's a good question. There can be individual problems at different stages in either their sales cycle or their approach. But if you were to have sort of a generalization, it'd probably be down to the planning, down to going, have we spent enough time? Again, this comes up to the top 1%. Again, a consistent thing that came out when you'd go, well, how do you spend your time? Especially at key points of the year, like beginning of the financial year, beginning of the next quarter. Certain times I focused, I locked myself away and I spend the time on the planning, because I know I'm more effective if I'm executing a plan rather than turning up every day for work going, what's the priority? What should I work on? And being very reactive. So as a sort of a generalization across everyone, I would say it's the lack of planning, because if you have a plan, you've got something to execute on. If you turn up and go, well, it can't be that difficult, I've just got to have some conversations and talk to a load of people, get into some sales cycle and close some business, which of course is all true, but unless you know who you're going to talk to, what you're going to say, and why, the difference of success. So this is where you compare two teams, one that does plan and one that doesn't. There's always a remarkable difference. It comes to as simple as just setting yourself up for success early on.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose having that plan in place and having the vision of what you're trying to achieve, instead of just rushing into it without having a clear idea, because then if you're not sure, then nobody else around you will be sure either, or even the prospects that you're selling to won't be sure on what you're trying to do. So having that plan and kind of taking that time to plan is better than rushing and not kind of being able to build any momentum behind it as well. And when within your experience, obviously, of building large global teams for acquisitions and major growth, what does a true high performance culture look like behind the scenes? So it's one thing to talk about it externally, but behind the scenes, what would you say it looks like?
It's an interesting one, because in sales you have probably more than other departments, a variety of characters, a lot of them not shy at coming forward. You have the whole concept of toxic talent, someone that's a super high performer, but a lone wolf and going off on their own, doesn't want to share their ideas and can absolutely be, really critical of other people and unsettling the kind of team side of things. So it's in the whole sales world, you have a different type of culture and a mix of people than I think typically you would have across most teams. Not always the case, but I'm speaking generally. Where you get the best performance or this high performance is one, it's the trust. Can you do your job and know that if you're going to do something and fail fast, you'll use that methodology, but you're not going to get fired? That you're happy to try other ideas, and your manager and the management above them have always got your back. They're always going to support you, and you build up that trust. That's one element. And then on top of that is the purpose. Do you understand where the company's going? And do you understand that the cog that you're playing, how does that fit in to everything that the company's doing? Because if you can go, right, I understand my purpose, I'm really trusted as well, because I can get on. If I make a mistake, I'm not going to be made to look stupid or embarrassed. I'm given the time to try new ideas, because we always want to find the ideas that are working. You've got the trust and you've got the purpose. You can start to have this whole kind of joy and love for what you're doing. And if you're having the joy and love for what you're doing, there's a whole load of, you can Google, there's a whole load of reports that all go, if you've got a high performing culture and they've got that great leadership, they spend time together. So again, if you look at the sports side, again, there's lots of great examples where top managers have got that social cohesion, because they know if you've got the social cohesion, you get on well, you enjoy it more, and you learn from your colleagues. So again, great leadership, social cohesion, fine to make sure you've got that trust. And if you've got the plan as well, then it works. And I find if you've got openness and honesty, sometimes you have to be able to call out when things aren't working. But I've worked in, I got in trouble once, I think it was one of my Oracle roles, where I told someone like two management layers up above me, this is my plan, or this is just exactly what I said, this is what you're going to do. The very senior guy wrote back and said, Alex, that's fantastic. When he told my boss, saying Alex has sent me this, my boss was really mad at me for going two levels above and not going through the management chain. And that's a good example of not trusting your team. And it's a good example of saying, well, hang on a minute, you haven't got that openness. We should be able to talk to anyone at any level, be able to give feedback, and to be open when things are working and not working, calling things out. This is the interesting thing in sales, especially when you get to bigger organizations that have that hierarchy. Sometimes if you're lower down, you feel that you haven't got the right to challenge or to question decisions that you can see just don't make sense. And again, what you do is time and time again I go and fix a problem, you talk to a company, the people at the bottom knew is never going to go and work, and then you ask the people at the top and they go, but nobody ever told me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the fault of everyone, of kind of the whole communication, people go, well, you come all full circle and go back around to the senior person, go, well, if you'd got the culture that enabled free speech and trust, then they would have told you and you wouldn't have made that decision. So they sound simple things, but a lot of it's human behavior that you see played out, and that natural hierarchy means sometimes it does create these walls where you don't want to go and talk to anybody higher, especially with something that's bad news that you find they're going to go, oh, I'm negative and not a team player.
That's a really good point though, because it can create that maybe friction if you've got your own manager and then they've got their manager and there's a person above them, to how to play it, or should you go through your first manager first? But actually, like you say, often people at the top don't actually know these things that are happening. But also, if the culture was just more open-minded and not so hierarchical, obviously you have the respect there within everyone's roles, but be able to talk freely is, I think, the way forward, especially now, because gone are those days of kind of having that, the teams which it's very hierarchical because everyone's learning so fast and different people can grow at different speeds and there's so much that can happen and evolve that I think having that insight from different team members is important, isn't it, for kind of the CEO or whatever their role is in that kind of C-suite. They almost need that understanding of what's actually happening. Would you advise in someone to talk, I suppose, I'm just thinking when she said that, in that situation, to talk to their manager first and then escalate, or to go straight to the CEO, for example, if they want to? Or
yeah, it's to kind of do both. It's a case of trying to go, and that's probably where my learning bit is. I should have looped in my manager.
It's hard to know, though, isn't it? When you've got an idea or you want to share something, It's hard to know all the different. And when you're learning yourself how to, should I say, speak to it? It's hard, isn't it?
It's all in context, and sometimes it's hard to loop people in. And it's the nice bit should be that if you've got something that you want to go and say, you all feel comfortable with people missing you out in the process. Because if you're being missed out in the process, then that means that you're empowering people to get on and do things. If you become this natural blocker, then in their minds, then that leader might think, they want to be in control. But the reality is the opposite way, because you actually get better performance and you get more to happen around you, the more you distribute control and command, rather than making it very hierarchical and making it very. If you have the hierarchies, that does then hold people back. Most of the time, it's the ideas and that free communication that gets held back.
Yeah, I agree. And so when it comes to, obviously, with what I do is a lot around personal branding and visibility. From your opinion and what you're doing, what you're seeing, how important is building a personal brand now in enterprise sales? And would you say that visibility has changed the game when it comes to sales?
Yeah, I think hand in hand, what happened with as you had tools with Google, now AI, ChatGPT, people are asking that rather than Google now. Most of the time, if you're trying to buy something, you've got to put yourself in a position of understand where, as salespeople, where we are for a buyer. And it's exactly like if we're going into a clothes shop and someone walks straight towards you. If you're in there for a black pair of trousers and you don't want to waste any time, you're like, fantastic, show me where this is what I want, let's go. And that's super helpful, great experience. However, we know we've always been into a shop and as soon as somebody comes up to you, you're like, and you're lying because they say, can you help you? And you say no. And the reality is you do need the help, but you haven't quite yet worked out what you need. And it's exactly the same with our buyers in B2B. They haven't worked out what they need before they had to go and talk to a salesperson because there was a lack of being able to find that information. But now there's so many ways through LinkedIn, through Google, they can find that information. The best part and the best way to find that information, of course, is from an individual that you can see is credible. Yes, there's always information coming out from a corporate website, but when you kind of look to try and get someone's individual perspective, it's coming from an individual. If that person hasn't got a brand or they haven't spent some time and effort on making their profile and making them look like they're here to help you, you're really missing a trick, because having that personal brand, having the ability to come across as a thought leader, is to try and get everyone in sales in the mind, look, we're helping and enabling buyers now, we're not selling to them. To enable a buyer to do their job and go and buy something, you've got to inform, you've got to educate, and you've got to give them some real value. And I think this is where you see, again, good, successful salespeople, sales teams and companies who have all spent the time, invested time, effort and money on making sure those profiles, your individual profile is good. Because again, the way that algorithms work and just the likelihood of you falling over, maybe Forterro or another ERP company, is small. It's, one company. Where if you've got 500 people or even 5 people within your team, all putting out good content, they've all got a really good personal profile, then you've got 4 times, 5 times more than that one company. And as soon as you get bigger and bigger, if you successfully do that with a company, or you can get 500 people doing it, just imagine the scale and the reach you get. And of course, what happens is that the critical part that people forget, you can be a one-hit wonder. You have a great bit of content, or you've been given a great bit of content, and then they go, that looks really important. They click on your profile, and that's when you then get lost, because they go, oh, you kind of maybe got that content from somewhere else. But now I'm doing the kind of credibility check. Is this person worth a conversation? Do I think that they've given me something to hook them in? Could they now help me through the rest of my process? And that is going to be made on how you come across, because they'll go, right, if you've got 10, 20 other bits of really helpful information, you're like, okay, this person's adding some value. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get in touch with them. Or what typically happens is you kind of put that mental note away. 6 or 3 months go by. You've done some outreach as a salesperson, and then they kind of remember you. And it's at that time they then take your call, reply to a LinkedIn message, or come back to your email, because you've already built that credibility. It's never going to be an overnight success, but if you hadn't polished your profile, made an effort, they would have come to you, looked, and maybe written you off too early. And the biggest shame of not having a great profile is there's people and companies that have got an absolute wealth of knowledge and ability to help, but they let it all down because their personal branding, they just haven't spent the time and effort. So from my view, it's something that should be quite easy, but I just don't think people see the value in it, which is a shame, because it does help them sell more. That's the ultimate reason.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a really great way that you put it, as well as if people want to research you, they want to see that you have gone the extra mile, that you do care. And it's all back to those things of being different, working hard, or kind of doing something extra to show that you care, that you're passionate about what you're doing, that you're adding value. And if people do come across you, or you've emailed them, you've messaged them on LinkedIn, you've met them at an event, the natural thing for us to do is to check someone's LinkedIn out. That's what I always do. And maybe like yourself, we just like to connect with real people as well. So it's really important to just do the basic things, that getting your profile right, getting it kind of aligned with what you're doing, and almost make it into your sales page. But then just posting content, even if you can start with once a week posting content, you start to build up a backlog of kind of resources and kind of information and content that if someone clicks on your profile, because actually Alex is putting some effort to his profile, clearly cares about what he's doing, he cares about us as kind of his clients or his customers, he cares about the industry. So yeah, I'll get in a conversation with him, versus someone who hasn't bothered to update their profile, they haven't got anything on there that's of use, they haven't got any recommendations. So it's that social proof, isn't it? And I think we all want to feel like, even if we're booking a holiday, but look at things like TripAdvisor, we want to know that we're going somewhere that's recommended, or that kind of people have had a good experience with. And that's the same with LinkedIn. I always say, kind of update your profile in the eyes of your customer, your ideal client, with their pain points, that they know that you're talking directly to them, but also get some recommendations on there, because again, that helps the extra step of their research, or kind of social proof with who you are and what you're doing. So yeah, your tips were really great there as well.
And it just makes a difference, because sometimes, if you truly are, and again, you put yourself in the buyer's shoes, if you're actually going, you need to buy an ERP solution or a HR platform, anything, you're going to be looking at other people's content, right? And the thing is, you very quickly, because the search algorithms are so good, you can find a lot of content quite quickly. So if you were to find and read 5 bits, and you looked at 5 people's profile, again, just putting yourself in the buyer's position, which one would you kind of look at and go, I'm going to call them proactively to see if they can help me, and kind of really look at your own profile, and then try and find a few others from competitors, or just members you work with in your team. Is it what's the best in the team? If they know that all 5 of us are selling into that vertical, are they going to pick me rather than my colleagues to have a conversation with? Because that is the reality. That's what happens when I ask people, how did you find that person? How do you find that? If I'm doing the kind of buy-side research for a private equity company, I'm asking them, how did you buy that solution? Why did you go with that company? And they'll tell me the reason, the product and the great service. But I'll go, but yeah, that's really good, but how did you get to them? And that's where they go, oh, this is really hard, because it is a hard question. They go, because there's lots of different, messages. It took me months. And I go, no, but how did you get there? How is it that person? And a lot of the time will be, and this is true, you can ask any of your customers, I looked at a few people and I had to make a decision, and for whatever my gut told me, I clicked on this person because they looked the most credible and somebody that's going to help me in furthering my aims to find out more about a HR platform, an ERP, a marketing automation solution, whatever you're looking to buy. That's how people do make decisions. So if you haven't spent the time and effort on the profile, they could be overlooking you, which again, so most of the time is a big shame. When you talk to people and you've got them one-to-one, you go, God, that person's fantastic. She knows huge amounts, really, really helpful. But are they ever going to get to that conversation with you? And making sure you've got that kind of image out there just enables a frictionless way for them to have that conversation.
Yeah, and that's a key word, frictionless, because what you almost want to be doing is warming up that buyer so that when they do get on in a meeting with you or on a sales call, that they already feel like they know you a little bit as well. So it's warmer, then it's not so cold of starting from scratch of who you even are as a person and kind of getting that feel for you as a human. You've almost warmed them up a little bit already, so they've got a good feel for who you are before they get on a Teams meeting or a face-to-face meeting. So I think frictionless definitely helps by just, like you said, sorting your profile out and posting, just being of value to your buyers and to the industry. Really, how can you show up and add value or help them with their pain points, share industry trends, share information that can help your buyer with their pain points and their goals, essentially, and then they'll start to see you as that helpful resource and put more trust in you. So, and we've touched upon this a little bit, but I suppose I don't know if you can dig a little bit deeper and kind of, I suppose, let everyone know a bit more from your side of things what you think. If someone in sales wants to move from being a strong performer to being known and respected in their market, what should they start doing differently? Would you say that comes down to like the LinkedIn stuff, or is there anything else that you can think of or that you do with the teams?
Yeah, stop selling. I sound crazy because I'm pretty, but salespeople, just stop selling. Realize there's a difference between selling, I've got a great product, it's got these features, or we've helped this person, we do this, we're really good at that. Nobody really cares. What they care about is a business problem and solving them. So become a good educator, become somebody that helps solve problems by sharing information. And I think that's the difference. And then there's multiple ways of doing that. As you said, have a good LinkedIn profile, sharing good content. Another thing that really helps to encourage everyone to do is put on webinars, put on events, things that, again, now with the tech you've got, you can put on real nice looking webinars. You should have already a load of people you want to invite, and you can put free invites on LinkedIn. There's loads of places now to engage, but don't do any demos. Don't tell anybody how great your company is. Make it focused on you bringing clients on that can talk about how the technology solved their problem. That's absolutely correct. Talk about the industry and the challenges and how other people are trying to solve those problems. That's what people want. And there's a great book, Marcus Sheridan, one of the books that I've got. He did a book, They Ask You Answer. And it's a great story about him having a pool business and really, really struggling. And what he found out, that when he looked at what marketing and what information he was putting out there, it was all everything that he wanted to put out. Aren't our pools great? He didn't actually ask what people want. And of course, what they want is, how much does it cost if I want to put in a pool in my back garden? He's in the US, so it's not a great UK advantage because the weather's too cold mostly. But he was kind of going, look, why these are the struggles that you have. These are the reviews of the local 10 companies that are all in this town that can provide and come and do a pool for you. How much does it cost for ongoing maintenance? So he came up with a whole load of things, overnight changed his marketing and started to provide people with the answers that they were truly searching on Google and trying to find out in the market. And then the business took off, and now he's a huge international star and done really well. But it was that. So my analogy for mentioning him was to try and just put yourself in your shoes, and sometimes it would be quite specific. So if it is a HR platform, it's like, right, what are they going to want? Okay, how can I use that to recruit top talent? Okay, right, this is what I need to talk about here. Yes, there's a cost. So how do I now position how much it is? Because it's good. Maybe you want to qualify people out, because if you're selling enterprise platforms, there's no use somebody that's got 5 people going, I only want to spend $20 a month. So so what I really find is become somebody that's helping educate but making that information truly what people want rather than what you think that they want. And that's the secret that usually works, but it's making the effort. And when we talk about this going to the extra 1%, it is going to the effort, putting on a webinar, putting on drinks in your office, putting on things where you're going to ask people to come. If you've got a great agenda, and if your agenda is absolutely clear that it's educational and there's some value that you're going to take away, and here's some free things that we're going to share with you, you will get people that come there. Because however much I bang on about this, however much it's simple it is, not many people do it. Those that do it go, this is really good, we'll do another one. They do another one, and they do another one. It is extra work, it's extra hassle, but the results are 10 times better than not doing it.
You're so right there. It's like people almost know they should be doing it or want to do it, but the amount of people that actually do it versus knowing about doing it.
Because it's a hassle, but once you've done one, the hardest one's always doing it for the first time. But once you've done that, you kind of copy and paste, and you're marketing to the people that can attend that couldn't maybe attend the next one. You've got different speakers on, but you then start to resonate. When you get people that come along to your first event, of course, the natural question is to follow it up with a survey. What did you like? What should we cover differently next time? And what are the burning questions that you spend your time and effort researching on the market? If we had that content and we gave it to you, you'd be able to further what you're doing quicker. And amazingly, people do actually come back because they're like, that's an intelligent question. And from that, you then build up. So then the next one is even more hyper targeted. And again, there's always got to be a cheeky call to action with, if you're looking for this, or, give us a call. And there's always an option of linking it back to a call to action to start engaging in a process. But if you ask and spend more time in front of a customer saying, what do you want to know, rather than you telling people what you think they want to know, you'll make a big difference.
Yeah, and I suppose, like you say, just asking the question, asking the customers the question, asking the prospect questions, they generally respond quite well to that, and that's what I also notice as well with working with clients, whether it's on their LinkedIn or kind of doing outreach and engagement. People actually appreciate you asking for feedback or what it is that they're looking to do, what we could do, what you could do better, because then it's like reframed, isn't it? It's like, okay, this person is just selling to me what they think. What they think they want to sell to me, but actually they're asking my feedback, my thoughts, what I'm going through, and it just changes the conversation a bit, doesn't it, as well? And doing those webinars or events, again, it's another way of helping that friction be removed, because it's warmer, it's kind of, people can see you're human, that you care, that you're trying, and I think that goes a long way as well.
Yeah, it works, and it truly works. I said, encourage everyone to try one once. They're not difficult. Spend the time, effort, and a bit of money on making it presentation of it, make it nice, or if you're doing it at an event, go somewhere where people are, oh, that's nice, and give them a decent drink and food that comes with it. It's not difficult. I said the biggest challenge is usually getting that first contact, and again, we talk about how do we make it less friction in there. If you give them a reason to come and you then get one-to-one with them, they then go, all right, this is great, and there's always more that comes from it. The hardest bit is getting them in there, zooming straight in to, this is a sales pitch, do you want to buy one, or can I come and see you, is the old way of doing it. It works for a very small percentage of the market that are actively looking, and you kind of cut down on their job, but that percentage is so small, it's better. It's been proved, statistically and results-wise, 100, million times that doing it that my way and the right way gets you better results than not doing it.
And do you feel like that people like to be part of a community as well, and then they see you as almost like the authority, or because you're hosting it and you're putting it on, so you're kind of the person in the centre of it all? Would you say that that's what you've experienced with that as well?
Yeah, my experience also is that just the worlds that we work in, unless you're so kind of disparate, bumping in and out of different functions and different roles, you'll kind of be in that world. And then you have your own communities within that world. So within the people HR world, people stay their whole lives in HR, become more senior. And surprisingly, if you looked on all their LinkedIn things, they've got their own community, and they've been to events, and they've worked at different companies and built up their own network. So they're kind of pleasant surprises when you go and make that effort. The internal, then the recommendations you get are really powerful as well, because if someone's getting value for something, most of the time there's no trade secrets. And if you're one bank and you work for a different bank and you're like, oh, I know you're looking for another HR platform, so yeah, you talk about the difference between Workday and Oracle and go, yeah, maybe at the moment it's this one you want to go and have a chat with. It's that network, build the community, but the people in it will have their own communities and their own networks, and then that's the power, the kind of accelerator effect of multiplying out from the start point.
Yeah, totally. So I have a segment now called Brand Myth versus Brand Truth. So I'm going to say some statements and you tell me if it's a myth or a truth in your opinion and why. So first one is career progression mainly comes down to who you know, not what you know. Is that a myth or a truth, and why?
Is it who you know? It's a bit of a truth, because if you know the right people and you know the right message, there's more chance that you're going to do that. And if you can shine and do really well yourself, but if other people are busy, are they going to notice? So it's a completely never done on just because you knew them, you got the job. You've got to kind of do a bit of both. And again, it came back to said earlier, be brave to put your hand up and go and have some difficult conversations that might seem a bit scary, because you'll absolutely accelerate your career by doing that. So it's a bit of a fudge answer, but a bit true.
So the next one is the best salespeople are born, not built. Is that a myth or truth?
Myth. I think they're built. When I was young, I liked sitting on the sofa, not doing too much. I was never the best in front of people. I grew up being really shy. I changed that, and I was then driven to know what being successful was like. So I pushed myself into roles, and I did a lot of theatre and performing when I was young.
Oh, wow.
To push myself into that role, and there's nowhere to hide when you're on a stage in front of 100 people. But you kind of go through doing that, and you lose all of the kind of nervousness. So I think you can absolutely be built if you've got the right mindset. Natural talent, you see that quite often, but no, I would say that the best salespeople are strategic in how they do. They've learnt their skills like any other career, rather than just being a born natural talker. Yes, it'll get you to a certain level, going, oh, he's a really good person. They always say the gift of the gab, and he's a real good at people's person and all of that. Some of it's true, but absolutely, I would say it's all built. You can learn it all, and you can study it, and you can get better at all the elements you need to be successful in sales. You don't need to be born with anything.
Yeah, I love that. And to be a great salesperson, it takes a lot of skill and training and adapting as well. So it's not. I think it has to be built, doesn't it? And you have to learn as you go in and keep evolving. And also something that I've realised a lot the past few years is that a lot of good sellers have been naturally more introvert or not the loudest in the room, and they've had to really work on kind of having that confidence to be able to talk to different people, or kind of be on a stage, or even be in a room with kind of a board or whatever it may be. So yeah, I love that answer. And the last one is personal brand is for influencers, not for serious enterprise sellers. Is that a myth or a truth?
It's a myth. Everyone now, you look at years ago, nobody had the tech or the tools, right? You had a marketing department, they all did that. That's all stripped away now. The great news for me is because you've got AI and agentic AI, I can now call it something, because I was been banging on for 15 years now that an enterprise salesperson needs to use the tools. And you've got to be able to, do your own automation, have your own marketing, make sure you're on social media, use tools for planning and scheduling. But it was always like me talking about tools. Now I just go, yeah, salespeople have got to use AI and look to how they're going to help that support them. The great thing is, if you've got that whole kind of technology behind you, you can accelerate what you're doing. And to be able to accelerate what you're doing, you need to have your base to go from somewhere, which is going to be your profile. I mean, that's reality. We're not hiding behind a big marketing organization. We're hiding behind yourselves. So this is why it should be the number one priority, to get that right. Because if you get that right, then you've got all these tools available to you. You can now do as an individual what it used to take a whole enterprise marketing team to be able to do just by using simple, free or low-cost tools that are out there on the market.
Yeah, I love that. And final question for you today, and thank you so much for all your great tips and advice. There's really useful nuggets of information there. But if you could go back and speak to your younger self at the very start of your career, what would you tell them about becoming the top 1%?
One is not overnight, which it takes time. So set that a perception, because I was always like, right, I'm going to be a millionaire at 20 and I'm going to do this. Have that ambition, but especially for the younger generations, and we see that as hiring people in, there's the different generations that come in, want everything really quickly. So understand that top success does take the effort and take the time. I would say be more bold and brave of going and having those conversations, and be braver about being yourself. I guess I was always trying to be the one to fit in, and kind of lost that a good few years ago. And now realise people actually quite like that. I'm not the corporate person, but sometimes my jokes are a little bit risky and HR, but they like, because I'm natural and come across differently. So don't be afraid of who you are, and try and use your personality, the bits that make you unique, to stand out from the crowd of people and be a human, rather than just trying to blend in with everyone else because you think it's the best way to be.
Yeah, and that's a great piece to finish on, is don't be afraid and be brave, and it's okay not to blend in and be yourself, because there is only one of us individually in the world. So that's kind of your unique selling point as it is. So yeah, I love that. And this has been really valuable and brilliant. So I appreciate you doing this with me. If people want to connect with you or learn more about what it is that you're doing, or get your book, where's best to kind of send them?
Yeah, have a look, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I've also got a newsletter. I haven't done some posts in a while, so my own personal profile needs to do it. But again, quick thing, doing a newsletter. Overnight, I went to, over about nearly 1,000 subscribers now. Something really simple, that, again, LinkedIn, I should have done years ago. I only started doing probably like 12 months ago. But yeah, connect with me on that if there's any way I can help. If I can inspire any teams, or if I can inspire one person to put their hand up, have that one conversation that enables them to go and progress their career, then I know I've done my job and I'm happy.
Well, amazing. And I'm sure you will do that, and I'll continue to do that as well. For everyone watching, or who watches the replay and recording, which I know a lot of you do, please do drop me a message with your thoughts and your feedback. And really looking forward to seeing you next time. And this is Brandon Becoming, and you'll see a lot of this in the next coming weeks. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.